to get that tech?
To your first question about the renaming, why not? It was something the president floated in his conversation with Chuck Schumer. As for the funding, the president has addressed that separately himself.
Carolyn.
Danny.
Thanks, Caroline. Today, the vice president's account posted and then deleted a tweet about the Armenian genocide. And then last week, President Trump's Truth Social account posted and then deleted a racist video about the Obamas. And the White House again blamed that on a staffer. I wanted to ask you, does the White House have a social media problem at the moment? Do you have an auto-posting problem that's leading to these mistakes?
No. As for the Armenian tweet that you're referring to, I would just refer you back to the White House's message that was issued on Armenian Remembrance Day, and there's been no change of policy at this time. Mary.
Thanks, Caroline. When the president goes to Beijing in the spring, does he have plans to try and advocate on behalf of Jimmy Lai, who was just sentenced to 20 years yesterday?
This is something I've heard the president advocate for both publicly and privately. I had the honor of being in that meeting with President Trump and President Xi in South Korea that took place, and this was brought up by the president himself. It is important to him, and he looks forward to visiting China in April.
Caroline.
Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. So some Republican lawmakers from Nebraska have said they're worried that the Argentinian beef executive order will sideline some American ranchers. How will the Trump administration make sure prices go down for consumers without harming those ranchers?
Of course. Well, both things can happen at the same time. That's the president's belief. He wants to see prices come down. In fact, I just overheard him on the phone with Secretary Rollins. They were talking about something different, but he's always saying we got to make sure that prices continue to come down. As you know, Secretary Rollins successfully did that with respect to egg prices. Beef prices are coming down slightly, and the president wants to see that continue. He believes that a minor import to the country with cattle might be a short-term solution with respect to bringing down prices. But of course, protecting our American cattle and rancher industry is a priority for the president, and he's in touch with those stakeholders. We've had them here at the White House a few times in recent months to discuss this issue directly. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. Yesterday, the president on social media threatened to block the new Gordie Howe Bridge, which would connect Detroit to Canada. This is a bridge that was fully paid for by Canada. It used American labor to construct it. It used American steel to construct that bridge. The president in 2017 was actually in favor of this bridge, part of a joint statement that he put out when he met with the Canadian Prime Minister. Why has the president changed his mind as it relates to this bridge?
I think the president was very clear and direct in his truth, John, but just to reiterate, the fact that Canada will control what crosses the Gordie Howe Bridge and owns the land on both sides is unacceptable to the president. It's also unacceptable that more of this bridge isn't being built with more American-made materials, even more so than what President Barack Obama committed to with the Canadians at the time, at the start of the project. He also believes that the U.S. should own at least half of the bridge, have shared authority over what passes across it, and participate in the economic benefits generated by its use. This is just another example of President Trump putting America's interests first, and so he made that very clear in his call with Prime Minister Carney earlier today. Phil.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
DHS Secretary Kristi Noem just posted a photo of herself signing the last contract between Laredo, Del Rio, and Big Bend, Texas, among reports that construction had stalled. Is the president satisfied with the pace of construction?
The president wants to make sure that the full border wall is built as quickly as possible, of course. I know this is a priority for him dating back to 2016, and so absolutely he wants to ensure that the border wall is built under budget and ahead of schedule is how President Trump likes to view building projects, and that includes the border wall.
Satisfied with the pace of construction thus far?
I think the president is never satisfied. He always wants to ensure that things are moving along as quickly as possible, but I know Secretary Noem is on it, and she's doing a great job.
Thank you, Caroline.
You're welcome. Sure. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Charlie.
On the Nancy Guthrie case, is the president satisfied with the federal and local investigation so far? And has there been any more contact from the White House or the president with the family?
I don't think anybody will be satisfied until this case is brought to a close and until Nancy Guthrie is returned home safely with her loved ones.
And about the White House contacts, has the president contacted the family since?
Not since that initial phone call. Sure, Tamara.
Thank you. The National Governors Association is removing a meeting with President Trump from his agenda because only Republicans were invited. Is the White House reconsidering inviting Democrats, or do you think Republicans are still going to show up? Like, where does that stand now?
No, look, I just spoke with the president about this. It is a dinner at the White House. It's the people's house. It's also the president's home, and so he can invite whomever he wants to dinners and events here at the White House. I believe Governor Moore was invited last year, and he did not show up to the dinner last year. Nobody reported on it. But again, the president has the discretion to invite whomever he wants to the White House, and he welcomes all those who received an invitation to come. And if they don't want to, that's their loss.
And on Ghislaine Maxwell, is the president going to rule out a pardon for her? In her testimony, deposition yesterday, her legal team seemed to be making a case, again, for a pardon from the president.
Again, this is not something I've discussed with the president recently because, frankly, it's not a priority. He's focused on many of the issues that the American people are dealing with and providing solutions to those issues. So I haven't spoken with him recently. Last time we did speak about it, he said it's not something he's considering or thinking about.
Caroline.
Go ahead, Bloomberg.
Thanks, Caroline. Secretary Lutnick today was testifying on the Hill, and he said that he had visited Epstein's Island in 2012 with his wife and children, and that's after he said that he had cut ties with Epstein, and Justice Department documents show that he was in contact with Epstein through 2018 over messages. So does the White House stand behind Secretary Lutnick right now, or given what he has said today, has there been any shift in how the White House is viewing Secretary Lutnick's performance?
No, Secretary Lutnick remains a very important member of President Trump's team, and the president fully supports the secretary. I will just point out that there are a lot of wins in the news this week that people in this room have not asked about because you continue to ask questions about the same subject, so let me point them out for you. Again, on Friday, the Dow shattered 50,000 for the first time ever. This week, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons came out in opposition to gender mutilation surgeries for children. They are the first major medical group to do so. A federal appeals court today, nobody asked about that, just upheld the Trump administration's policy of detaining illegal aliens, validating the strong measures that have driven illegal crossings to historic lows, and sent a crystal clear message that under President Trump, if you enter the country illegally, you will be detained and removed. The murder rate, again, not a single question about this, has plunged to a 125-year low as crime falls across the board thanks to President Trump's crime crackdown. We also saw this week national median rents have fallen to a 4-year low following 6 consecutive monthly declines, and mortgage affordability has surged to a 4-year high. Home ownership is the core foundation principle of the American dream, and I will repeat that mortgage affordability this week surged to a 4-year high, but not a single of mention of that in this briefing room today. And again, this came out last Friday, but for an unprecedented 9th straight month, there were 0 illegal border crossings at the southern border. So we're going to get back to business. The president is very busy today, and you will see him all tomorrow at the event in the East Room touting his administration's energy policy. Thank you.
What about the month's walk for peace that came to DC, Caroline?
That was White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt hosting her latest press briefing there at the White House, also previewing the fact that President Trump will be meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House tomorrow. Obviously, we'll be covering that here on Real America's Voice, but that's a big meeting as the two leaders are expected to address the ongoing situation in Iran and how to potentially address that. It could include strikes against Iran. They'll likely also discuss the very latest on the situation in Gaza as the ceasefire is continuing to hold between Gaza and the United States. There's also new information in the investigation into the abduction of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie. She, of course, is the mother of Today Show host Savannah Guthrie. The FBI is out with brand new pictures of the alleged kidnappers. It was the very first thing that Caroline Leavitt addressed as she came out to the podium. We, of course, will continue to monitor that story as well as investigators seem to have new information and to be moving closer to finding a suspect in that investigation. Well, that's going to do it for us here. We appreciate you being here with us. Now, let's get you back to your already scheduled programming.
Our wave and our golden age has just begun.
This is Human Events with Jack Posobiec.
Now it's time for everyone to understand what America First truly means.
Welcome to the Second American Revolution.
All right, Jack Posobiec, we are back live. We're here down in West Palm Beach today for the show. We got some business to attend, some complicated business, as they say. But folks, let me tell you something. Scammers, criminals, we know they raised the stakes last year, and they're only getting worse. Scams are more complicated and harder than ever to catch. AI clones, voices, texts, things that sound like your family and friend, emails, much better at impersonating your banks. And much of your information, name, address, phone number, and even some of your online activities are publicly available right now. They're not hard to find. And look, we know that there's hundreds of data brokers openly listing your information. It's often how scammers decide who to target and how often identity fraud starts, or potentially worse. This year, the choice is yours. Stay vulnerable or take action with Patriot Protect. Patriot Protect removes your data from the internet, wipes it from Google and every major website where scammers, cyber criminals, and stalkers search for targets. Patriot Protect also deletes your personal information from over 240 people search engines and data brokers, the exact sites that criminals use to case people before they strike. And look, I just played that footage for you, and it's certainly going through my mind right now of what happened at the home of Nancy Guthrie, and we're praying for them very hard because we need that peace of mind. We need the peace of mind of knowing that ourselves, our loved ones, our parents have their own security team, and all for the cost of keeping porch lights on. So start 2026 with less exposure and more control with Patriot Protect at patriot-protect.com/POSO. So use our promo code POSO for 15% off your yearly subscription. You never agreed to share this information. Now you can take it back. That's patriot-protect.com/POSO. Promo code POSO for 15% off your yearly subscription. So I want to talk about another story that's going on right now. Piracy on the high seas and interdiction on the high seas. And of course, one of those is the Indian Ocean, which brings us back to our good friend, Kingsley Wilson, the press secretary for the Department of War. She joins us now. Kingsley, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Jack.
Well, we've got you on, and we have seen another naval operation take place, a maritime interdiction operation known as a MEO in the parlance. I try not to use too much of the lingo here on the show, but that's what we refer to them as. Walk us through what happened. There's a tanker. My understanding is that it just transited the Straits of Hormuz, was now going into the Gulf of Oman, out into the open Indian Ocean. An interdiction operation was conducted by the United States Navy, seized by the U.S. government. What's happened here?
Yeah, so this operation was historic in a couple ways. The first is that under President Trump's administration, this is the first interdiction that we have done in conjunction with the quarantine of Venezuelan oil vessels that are sanctioned by the U.S. government that is DOW-led. So this was led by the Department of War. It was all Title X forces that were able to board this vessel and do a right of visit on this vessel. And it shows, I think, too, the dominance of the United States military. We will find you no matter where you are. There is no sanctuary. This actually came all the way from the Caribbean, and we tracked it and hunted it into the Indian Ocean and were able to seize it. And that is a testament to the United States military under President Trump. When we say quarantine in regards to illegal Venezuelan oil tankers, we mean it. And this is something that the department is going to be proud to do as the lead agency going forward.
Well, and it's really as simple as this. Now, we, of course, haven't seen as many of these in this part of the world, seen them more in the Southern Atlantic, seen in the Caribbean as well. However, these sanctions are something the United States Navy and the United States clearly are taking seriously wherever they are in the world. Are you able to give us many details about this specific vessel, why it was targeted, and what the DOW believes that the intentions were for its mission?
Absolutely. So this vessel was targeted because it was acting in defiance of President Trump's established quarantine down in the Caribbean, making sure that individuals and groups who may be carrying or trafficking illegal oil that is sanctioned by the U.S. government are not able to do so. So we are going to make sure that wherever you are in the world, if you are one of those vessels that when the quarantine was established maybe tried to get away, you're not going to get very far. You will run out of fuel before you will outrun the U.S. military. And that is because we have forces all across the world who are going to ensure that the American people are kept safe, that American sea power is respected. And this actually marks, as I said, this is the first DOW-led maritime interdiction operation under the President Trump administration, which is very, very exciting. But this is also the 7th total that DOW has supported. We have 6 million barrels of illegal oil that has been seized as a result of these very successful operations, and they will continue. We want to make sure that the world knows President Trump means business and the United States military is back. The world saw the brilliance of the Maduro raid and the capture of Nicolas Maduro, and now they're seeing that we are just continuing to apply that pressure when it comes to these illegal oil transiting vessels.
And by the way, these are similar operations that have been conducted under other administrations for violating sanctions, particularly something that you would see sometimes with weapons of mass destruction, WMD sanctions or WMD precursors, something that happens frequently. You think Iran nuclear program, think North Korea nuclear program back before that was getting done. These were done by the Obama administration for a number of reasons. They were totally on board. I certainly don't remember the media being upset about any of those because, again, they were following the same type of legally sanctioned maritime interdiction operations that were conducted by, and I'm talking around this, but ones that I may have been a little bit familiar with when I was still serving because I read about them in the newspapers, of course. And those were the ones that the media was more than happy with. So, has the media been, treating this any differently?
They are absolutely treating it differently, and that's because President Trump is in office. As I know you know, Jack, they love to act like things that happened under previous administrations that President Trump is doing and succeeding at are all of a sudden scandalous. But the American people see past that. And you're correct. I know we've talked about this on the show before. The American people are used to seeing this kind of activity, particularly in the Middle East, in the CENTCOM AOR. Now they are seeing a refocus on the Western Hemisphere under President Trump, on our own backyard. And that's not to say that if a vessel tries to escape the Western Hemisphere and go all the way to the Indian Ocean, that we won't go and grab it. But the priority at this department is homeland defense again, and that is thanks to President Trump's bold vision. And we will continue as a department to make sure that the American people are kept safe and our borders are strong and secure and our waterways are safe from dangerous drugs and illicit activity.
And it's really as simple as that. And this is something, by the way, that any nation would do when they find someone who's violating sanctions like this. This is, again, something that the United States government has done, not just under the Obama administration and the Trump administration, but also for years, for decades, for generations. This is nothing new. And, going back to, oh my gosh, the days of the United States Navy in the Caribbean, you look at stopping the rum runners, smugglers, slavers, in the Civil War era, there were ships that after the slavery ban went in, there were ships that had to get interdicted for all sorts of reasons. This is actually one of the oldest purposes and uses of the United States Navy. And it's kind of interesting that here we are using the United States Navy for its actual core mission, and yet the media just can't seem to wrap their heads around it.
And I wish, too, the media would realize how incredible that our warfighters are doing these sorts of operations. As you know, Jack, a lot of these operations when you're boarding a vessel can be incredibly dangerous, especially if individuals on the vessel aren't friendly, which in many instances they are. And yet our brave warfighters sign up to do this kind of hard work, to go and seize these vessels, to make sure that America's military and maritime dominance in particular are protected all across the seas and all across the world. And I wish that our journalists would maybe shine a light on their incredible bravery, but I might be holding my breath for a little while on that one.
No, and unfortunately that it seems to be that on and on again. Now, that being said, when it comes to this, does the DOW, the U.S. DOW, have plans, any other vessels that are on the radar, that are on the bubble for this type of activity, or is it more of an ongoing sweep as indications and warnings, intelligence comes across regarding ships that appear to be violating these sanctions?
It's a great question, and I would say this is an ongoing effort. As the Secretary alluded to yesterday when he was out visiting some defense companies in Maine and Rhode Island, he talked about how we saw this vessel try to escape when the quarantine was established by President Trump, and we have been tracking it ever since. So we will make sure that if there are any vessels that are sanctioned for this sort of illicit activity coming from Venezuela and the Caribbean, wherever they try to flee, they will not be able to hide from the United States military. We will track them down, and we will make sure that they seize them for defying President Trump's very successful quarantine, and we will continue to make sure that we have a strong and safe and secure Western Hemisphere.
And that's really what it comes down to. And by the way, I'm looking at some of the data right now, a 21% drop in fentanyl overdoses since this, and it's really a whole of government approach. But when you look at the strikes on the drug vessels, when you look at the interdictions and you look at the operations regarding Venezuela and other places, 21% drop. That's a huge deal.
It's incredible. And just last night, we had another boat strike in the Southcom region that was announced by our Southcom folks. And we've now got a new combatant commander down there, General Donovan, who is fantastic, really getting after it, doing a great job. And we are going to make sure, as you said, Jack, that these individuals who are trafficking deadly narcotics to America's shores are taken out. No more. The Biden administration turned a blind eye to this, but President Trump means business.
Amen.
And we only want to see those fentanyl death numbers continue to plummet, and thanks to President Trump, it's happening.
And you love to see it. It's not a left or right issue. Kingsley Wilson, God bless. Thank you for joining us here at Human Events Daily.
Thanks, Jack.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
It was a cover-up.
Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy.
It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China.
You talk about influencers. These are influencers, and they're friends of mine. Jack Posobiec. Where's Jack? Jack, he's done a great job.
Hi there, everybody. I wanted to come on and just share a few thoughts as we enter into another week of this nightmare. I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for all of the prayers and the love that we have felt, my sister and brother and I, and that our mom has felt. Because we believe that somehow, some way, she is feeling these prayers and that God is lifting her even in this moment and in this darkest place. We believe our mom is still out there. We need your help. Law enforcement is working tirelessly around the clock trying to bring her home, trying to find her. She was taken and we don't know where. And we need your help. So I'm coming on just to ask you, not just for your prayers, but no matter where you are, even if you're far from Tucson, if you see anything, if you hear anything, if there's anything at all that seems strange to you, that you report to law enforcement. We are at an hour of desperation, and we need your help.
Jack Posobiec, we're back. We're live here, Human Events Daily, and we've got a lot of questions. The Guthrie family obviously has a lot of questions, and there's now new video and new information that has suddenly been released in the case where nothing seems to add up. And we also heard indications, Fox Digital, of course, had a story out last night. We've reported on as well to Post Millennial that local law enforcement, the sheriffs there down in this county, Democrat-run county, were not working with federal investigators until days after they had requested it. That they were an icy reception is what we were told, that they were dragging their feet to actually work together. And now suddenly, after 10 days, we get the first video off a Nest camera. I don't understand what's going on here. I don't understand how a video like this doesn't trigger some type of AI response immediately. This is nuts. We got to dig into it. I want to get Lyndon Blake back here from Daily Wire because she's got an incredible story and incredible show that she's been putting together on it to try to connect the dots in this story. And shocking, just within the last few minutes, this new video release. Lyndon, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm flabbergasted. So walk us through, what are they saying? Why is it that we are 10 days into this thing and we're only now seeing footage of what I have to describe as a suspect? How could you describe it as anything else other than a suspect? And when every single day the sheriffs are saying there's no suspect, there's no suspect, there's a suspect. He's right there. He's on the TV. Hey guys, I think back in the day they used to call that a clue. What's going on?
Well, yeah, I think that's the biggest question is what took so long. When Kash Patel put out the images and video, he said for the last 8 days, they've been working with the private sector on this investigation, trying to get those images off that doorbell camera that did not have a subscription. And what we were told by Pima County, that meant whatever you're seeing right there on your screen, when it happened in real time, which was around 1:47 in the morning, when it was done because Nancy Guthrie didn't have the subscription to go back in the doorbell camera's memory to get it. And you brought up that point about Pima County having an icy reception to federal agents there that Fox News reported. And, it's day 10 of the search. And for the last 8 days, they've been doing this. So that could indicate that gap where there was that little hesitation of that partnership from 10 days to 8 days to where they were working together to get this video. But this video is incredible because look how clear it is. This is something that if you'd had earlier in the case, this case could have been solved by now. Because this is when you start really getting people's wheels turning. You can see clearly in this video the person's eyes. You can see what appears to be a mustache above the person between the ski mask. In some of the videos, you see the person turn around right there. You see the backpack. You see the way they walk up. I mean, a lot of cases in the past have been solved on grainy video with a person's gait. And you have this person literally looking directly into the camera. And it's just incredible how much evidence is right there. And I think that's why Savannah Guthrie posted almost immediately after this was released and being like, someone can recognize this person. And I 100% agree.
I mean, if this were someone that I knew, right, and they were dressed in this ridiculous, and it just seems to me ridiculous, extremely amateurish kind of getup, that you would have to believe that you'd be able to identify them. If this were someone I knew, I'd easily be able to identify them from this footage. And as horrific as this is, I still can't get away from the fact of asking, why wasn't this footage out earlier? This should be the very first thing that you do, the very first thing that you start digging on. If you say, hey, there was a Ring camera, Nest camera, whatever it is, get the footage. Get the camera footage. Don't wait for, we're going to be digging around in manholes and septic tanks and all the rest of it and going up there and breaking the timeline and can't even get right whether she's going to church or she's going to a prayer service at her friend's house. I mean, the amount of mistakes that we have seen from this sheriff's department, it's actually staggering. And I just feel for the people that live in this county that have to have such an incompetent individual being the one who's supposed to be keeping them and their loved ones safe.
I mean, 100%. Like these cases, if you can't tell the public what to look for at all, no vehicle, no footage, truly, this is the first thing in this entire case we've been given, period. And that's incredible on day 10. To have that, it really is mind-blowing. And it goes back to, I just saw moments before I hopped on here that, there's tons of media outside Nancy Guthrie's house, but a pizza delivery guy was just able to walk up and attempted to deliver a pizza. I mean, obviously it was probably meant for a media member, but they were still able to go up to the blood-dripped steps and deliver a pizza to Nancy Guthrie's home, just like on Monday, that Amazon driver was able to go walk right up to the door and drop a package off.
They didn't secure the scene. We'll be right back. Human Events Daily. Jack Posobiec, the great Lyndon Blake.
The radical left knows exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted.
Seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. This is a monumental moment in American culture. This Sunday, Real America's Voice and Real America's Music come together to do what the mainstream industry won't. Take the music back. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, we go live with exclusive free coverage of the Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show, a patriotic alternative. For years, the left has weaponized the music industry, using it to push politics, erase values, and divide the...
Where's Jack? Where's Jack? Where is he? Jack, I want to see you. Great job, Jack. Thank you. What a job you do. You know, we have an incredible thing. We're always talking about the fake news and the bad, but we have guys, and these are the guys who should be getting Pulitzers.
All right, Jack Posobiec back live here, Human Events Daily, West Palm Beach. Folks, let me tell you something straight up. I'm extremely picky about what I put in my body and what companies I support. And let me tell you something right now. Blackout Coffee, it checks every single box. This is a family-run American company roasting fresh coffee right here in the USA, built by people who believe in hard work, freedom, and this country. And 2026 is a huge year. This marks the 250th anniversary of the United States of America. Blackout Coffee is celebrating it all year long with new roasts, limited editions, and some very exciting releases coming. Look, I drink Blackout Coffee every single day, morning shows, late nights, travel days like today, and all of it. It is smooth, it is strong, and it's always fresh. Once you switch, there is no going back. They got something for everyone. Morning Reaper, the best-selling medium roast that's smooth and never bitter. Brutal Awakening, a bold, dark roast that actually wakes you up. And for 2026, you have got to try the 1776 dark roast. Rich, unapologetic, and made to honor America's founding. And the 2A medium roast, we're talking smooth, balanced, and proudly named after Second Amendment. Your coffee shows up fresh, on schedule, and you never run out. They also have instant coffee, talking about a game changer here. I don't mean no weak gas station powder. We mean the Blackout Coffee, the real stuff, right in a packet. No machine, no mess. Add water, stir, and you're ready to roll. Perfect for work, travel, or keeping it in your desk or go bag. How do you get it? Go to blackoutcoffee.com/POSO and use promo code POSO for 20% off your first order. That's blackoutcoffee.com/POSO. Support those American jobs and celebrate 250 years of freedom with Blackout Coffee, because it tastes incredible and every sip of it tastes like a win. I want to get back here. So, Lyndon, I just mentioned I was drinking my Blackout Coffee today because I was traveling. You know, this of course breaks just as we go to air here. Walk us through these stunning new developments. How did this all come out? And again, you know, what are they saying about the reason for the delay in this shocking evidence?
All right. So, yeah, before these images came out, we were told that they should come out this afternoon. They came out a little bit earlier. And I wanted just to get people up to speed. Before these images came out, the big thing was the ransom note second deadline had passed, and the time frame that was laid out in the deadline had also passed as of this morning, giving even more, I think, non-credibility to those ransom notes. And so then we get these. And what you're looking at right now is the person that Kash Patel said was armed and was tampering with the cameras, and ski mask on, backpack there, gloves. He's trying to cover it up, looking directly in the camera though. So, I mean, you get very clear shots of his eyes. And in the video, it looks like he was trying to at first cover up the camera with some leaves, and there's actually, from the video that we've seen of the blood on the front porch, that's the leaves right there, the vegetation. You see some blood drops on top of that after, you know, daylight came up the next day. So these images are huge because this entire time, and again, we haven't heard from Pima County Sheriff in an official media briefing since Thursday. You're saying, how can the public be of help? They just kept saying anything suspicious, anything suspicious. This is so huge because, Jack, you know how a lot of these cases are solved. You get this like gut feeling like, oh, I may have known someone, like that wouldn't shock me if this person was involved. Well, then you get clear as day video and images, and you're like, oh my goodness, that looks just like so-and-so. So again, like you mentioned, these videos, images would have been very helpful on day 2 of the investigation, but we got them on day 10. And right now, everyone is being asked to study these videos and images, study the way the person, again, very distinct features in this video. The eyes are very distinct when you get the up close shot. It appears there's some type of facial hair, mustache looking thing there you see in that photo. So study these, and that tip line wide open, still $50,000 reward, 1-800-CALL-FBI. But I mean, this is the biggest break, understatement, that we've had in the case. And now people can actually start being on the lookout out and draw connections to if they recognize this person. And then authorities can now continue to just track what they have. And I'm curious now because, you know, on Friday, the FBI recovered that video from the camera, the multiple camera smash.
And you know what
all
else?
These come from the same camera, their front doorbell camera. Yeah, there's a back one. So there's more out there. I hope we get to see that too. And to your point about the incompetency of this, we're still told no scheduled media briefings, even after all this information came out. That is shocking to me because the media, the public, they should be able to ask about these new developments. That's why you have press briefings. But right now, crickets.
Well, and of course, we also have to understand, you know, the question is also what else was on this camera? Because if this was the camera that was active and they are able to recover this footage, I want to know what happened an hour before. I want to know what happened a minute before. I want to know 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after this. Do you see a car driving up? Can you tell if it's a, just if you only hear audio, can you hear the size of the car? Is it, it sound like a motorcycle? Does it sound like a Jeep? Does it sound like an SUV? Whatever, what else, what other? So if this system has footage, it's clearly going to have more than just this. And hopefully, and presumably the FBI will have more clues that they're going to be able to pull off of this other than just the footage of this guy. By the way, and then of course, we also have to ask the question of, was there footage of her returning home? And when she returned, so walk us through that again, by the way. When she returned home, we were told there was a family member who brought her home from a family dinner. Who was that family member? Around what time was that? And do we know if this was the door that they used?
So yeah, this starts the walk back circle, which is in the story of this case. Say something up front, take it back a couple days later. This was no different than who dropped her off. Their original reports that it was Annie Guthrie. Then the more confirmed report from Sheriff Chris Nanos, he told, I do believe it was the New York Times, that it was Tommaso Cioni, the son-in-law, that dropped her off, made sure she got in the home safely. And then that was at 9:48, garage door closed at 9:50. So that was what we were told. But then it was walked back on Thursday and they're saying it was just a family member. It was just a family member. But to your point, yeah, you should be able to see now who that was. If they can dig back in the server and said, over the last 8 days, they've been doing some digging. There has to be more that they're looking at in that regard of what did it look like when she got home. A lot of people think that she went through the garage because the garage door closed, but it begs the question, there are multiple cameras being found now. So will we see images from those other cameras? Another thing, and you look at the timeline, now we know this is the person that set off at least one of the cameras at 1:47. Camera. 40 minutes went by before the 228 pacemaker disconnected from the cell phone. That is a long time for this person. If this is the, again, it's not being called a suspect. This is just, it's the person that was tampering with the camera. Potential suspect is what the verbiage law enforcement is using. But that is such a long time to be hanging out in this home, to be doing things in this home. And he seems very calm there, just casually walking back after he knows the camera is on, walking back to the vegetation, picking some up. Oh, let me go back up to it, try to cover it up again. I mean, it's just weird. Call it what it is. It's weird. The timeline was weird. The amount of time it was there, it just gives off whoever this is, they were familiar.
So it does seem like someone who has a familiarity, someone who is clearly not ever done this sort of thing before. You also see that there's only one individual apparently in this video. It does not seem like a group of people a ring, if you will, where in professional abductions or people who do this, cartel or others, they never just send one person. It's always multiples. There's always a team, because there's always issues. You have to carry someone. If you've knocked them out, you have to be able to secure them, et cetera. It's extremely rare that you would only see one person in an abduction. There's no question about that. And again, it gets into questions about this ransom, what really went on, what was the plan? Was this perhaps a ransom that went bad, a ransom, attempt that went wrong by someone who was an amateur? We still don't know that. But one thing, and by the way, and I'm just going to say it, that there's a real question now. If you got a Ring camera, you got a Nest camera, whatever it is, and you don't have a subscription, does that mean they're not storing the data? Because it sure seems like they're storing that on their servers, which is, obviously raises quite a few questions there as well for folks that if they want to get it, they certainly can, and they certainly are able to. Coming up on a break, but I just have to say this, that sheriff has got to go. I'm sorry, that sheriff has absolutely got to go down there, Pima County. You guys can do way better than this. Sheriff Chris Nanos, he has lost all credibility. He needs to step down. He needs to step down and let someone who's actually competent at law enforcement do the job. Right back here, Human Events Daily.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
seditious conspiracy.
But behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.
Scan the QR code or visit RealAmericasVoice.com. Real America's Voice presents The Sleeping Giant. Available now. This is a monumental moment in American culture. This Sunday, Real America's Voice and Real America's Music come together to do what the mainstream industry won't. Take the music back. Starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, we go live with exclusive free coverage of the Turning Point USA All-American Halftime Show, a patriotic alternative. For years, the left has weaponized the music industry, using it to push politics, erase values, and divide the
Jack is a great guy. He's written a fantastic book. Everybody's talking about it. Go get it. And he's been my friend right from the beginning of this whole beautiful event. And we're going to turn it around and make our country great again. Amen.
Jack Posobiec, we're back live here. Human Events Daily. So we got all this new reporting regarding the Nancy Guthrie case. I'm just going to pull some stuff up. That NBC, of course, is breaking a lot of this, and it's certainly existential for them because they're dealing with a case that involves one of their biggest stars, which is certainly driving a lot of the interest in this, as well as the now we can see this incredibly amateurish individual on camera. We know that FBI Director Kash Patel has visited the Tucson Command Center in the Guthrie case on Monday. According to NBC News, he was brought to Arizona on pre-planned travel, but spent some time with investigators. We saw that information regarding the pizza delivery driver. The Guthrie family, it's being reported, does not recognize the individual seen breaking the mother's doorbell camera. And this is, of course, is why the FBI has made it public. So they're saying they're not sure who it was. We're seeing that it has previously been revealed that the doorbell camera is disconnected at 1:47 a.m. February 1st, and that home surveillance software detected movement at 2:12 a.m., but there is no video of that detected movement. So it's unclear whether it was a person, animal, or what else. The White House itself has shared out this information now. Kash Patel has shared it from his account. There is a reward that the FBI is offering, up to $50,000 for anyone who has information on being able to identify, that leads to the identification of this suspect, of this individual. And again, just one of the most horrific things that I've seen. But look, and I want to bring Lyndon Blake back in here, but from my just my cursory view, I've only seen this just as we were going live to air here. This does not seem to me like someone who is a professional. This does not seem to me like someone who's ever done this type of thing before. And it seems to me like this is someone who's, watched too many movies, watched too much Breaking Bad, and thought, hey, maybe I can do that to get some money. Maybe, obviously look for someone who's got financial issues as a way to, as a motive or a driver here. So that's just kind of a cursory view. But again, the lack of any type of backup whatsoever really stands out to me. Lyndon, your thoughts?
Yeah, going back to amateur hour, I think that's what a lot of law enforcement are going to say about this as well, because, this girl couldn't quickly figure out how to get a camera off a mount and make it stop working. It fails right there, as you can see, and he turns around. And I don't know what the thought process behind, let me get some leaves from a bush and try to cover it up like he tried to do there.
There doesn't seem to be any planning whatsoever on how to disable the camera before his arrival at all.
Which goes back to in more sophisticated operations. I mean, you were walking up with authority, boom, 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 like you're done. You punch it, you do something to quickly do it. And this,
or perhaps, I don't know, wear a hat to block your eyes from,
or, put on sunglasses. Yeah. It's crazy.
Some really basic, things that professional crime. I don't mean to laugh because it's not a laughing matter, but it's just such, he's grabbing some plants that are nearby and then trying to cover it up like he hadn't even occurred to him that their camera might even be there.
What do you think? The leaves are just going to stick? It makes no sense. And again, it's just amateur hour turning around. The fumble here is incredible, but also good for law enforcement, because you have 30 seconds of video with this guy girl given every single angle possibly that you could give.
I'm going to come down. I think it's a guy. I think that looks like a guy to me. It doesn't look like a girl to me at all. Just
same.
And you mentioned the face. When you see the facial hair, when you see the movements, when you see the just the size in general, it seems like a guy to me. That'd be my first look. And also just understanding the profile of people who commit these kind of crimes, it'd be extremely rare to see that be a female. Also, we haven't talked about this, but it does appear to be, and I'm seeing some people are commenting that there appears to be a firearm, either in a waist holster or maybe in a pocket. Are you able to have you dug into that at all?
Well, we know that the person was armed, because Kash Patel said this armed person went up to the camera. We'll call it the guy, like you said. I think it's a guy too. The armed man walks up, so we know that there was something. And I think that the gun's not holstered properly, but you can see on his left side right there. Can you make out is he trying to hold the gun there in the waistband or something? That's where I'm looking when I'm looking for the gun, is over there in the left hand area, trying to conceal it or something on that end. But
and
again,
in fact,
we do know
behind him, it almost looks like you're seeing some kind of, some headlight. To me, it looks like a reflection and some headlights and a wheelbase that are being reflected in the back. Again, I'm just going through this as we're live. I haven't looked at any of this before.
Live reacting,
but
sure, yeah.
But again, there's so many clues here. It's just over and over. The boots, by the way, there are the boots. That's the type of boots you're looking for. So from the boots, you can get the impressions of the feet. From the impressions of the feet, you can in generally say, hey, we're looking for someone who's around this size. This, you can get his height, obviously, off of this by judging his height based on the when he walks through the awning. Again, you're looking for someone who's around this height, around this type of, has this type of gait, has these type of boots, has this type of firearm. If you can tell which firearm it is, it looks like a handgun, I would say, obviously, just given where it's, given where it's at, maybe a Glock or something like that, or a SIG, a common handgun, Taurus, I don't know. If depending on how mature she is, if he's got a Taurus.
You can easily measure the arch, and then when he's standing right there, and get a height just like that.
Yeah, that's exactly the same way they do when you're at one of those convenience stores or a gas station, and they have that height chart that's right on the doorway. That's why it's there, boys and girls, because if you want to give a quick description, it's a really fast way to be able to do that. And so this footage absolutely gives you the ability to give you the height from the foot impressions. You might even be able to get the weight, even the sense, you've got obviously someone who's, I wouldn't say obese, but overweight, someone that you're looking for here. There's no question. Facial hair. And again, someone who's not done, and unfortunately, and this is where I want to get serious for a second. Unfortunately, the fact that this doesn't appear to be someone who's done something like this before, that raises the threat profile of risk, of mishaps, of emergencies, and things not going well, where he may lose control of the individual, of the victim. And, let's say he's got rope or some type of cord in that backpack with the attempt to, with the intent to tie them up. Well, with that, it only remains to be seen what happened with that gun or whatever else, if this is something that someone had never attempted before and doesn't have anyone else there to be able to hold the individual down while you tie them up or something like that. And I think it's really horrific. I think it's absolutely horrific. So walk us through, if people have been able to, let's say someone's watching and they've seen this, how can they respond? How can they react? How can they contact law enforcement?
Well, the big number that's been given out is simple 1-800-CALL-FBI. Savannah has posted that. She's made 2 posts on Instagram since this video and image was released in the last couple of hours saying, please call this number. She firmly believes, and I say she, I'm talking about Savannah Guthrie, that her mom is still alive, that Nancy is still alive, and someone's going to be able to recognize the person on the video. And I agree. I think this is incredibly clear video from a doorbell camera, and this is the break that the case needed. So 1-800-CALL-FBI. And again, you just start thinking, if you have just ran into someone, I mean, we've seen it for other cases, Elizabeth Smart, these other missing person cases, you could just have an inkling or something that's a gut feeling, and then you see this and a light bulb goes off. Call.
And there's a possibility. I've also heard, Lyndon, where can people go to follow you and get access to the new show you're putting together with Daily Wire?
Okay, yeah, we're deep diving into this every day on Daily Wire. It'll be on the Daily Wire platforms. It's called Finding Nancy Guthrie. It's also available on Apple and Spotify. And we will have an episode today where we discuss all of this.
God bless you, Lyndon. Thank you so much for joining us. Incredible developments. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, you have my permission to lay ashore.
Exactly what they're doing. They want to steal the election. We're going to walk down Pennsylvania Avenue, and we're going to the Capitol. They need to take back our country.
Events in Washington have taken a violent and tumultuous turn.
January 6th wasn't just a moment in history. For thousands of Americans, it was the moment their voices were taken.
It's insurrection.
They were persecuted, hunted,
Seditious conspiracy.
but behind prison walls, something unexpected happened. They found their voice again.
Started singing the national anthem.
We took it up to him at Mar-a-Lago. He goes, I'll put my voice on it.
Our supporters made this go platinum.
Real America's Voice is telling the real story of January 6th like you've never seen it before.
Everybody, this must be peaceful.
This is not the story you were shown.
I take responsibility.
This is the story they live.
Government entrapment scheme that this actually was.
The J6 Patriots are no longer staying silent. They are speaking, they are standing, and they are telling the truth.
You can't kill us. You can't beat us.